What happens when your mind sees more than it should? When thinking isn't just a gift, but a burden, not because it fails, but because it works too well.
That's the curse of being an intellectual. You see through everything people, systems, illusions. But when you strip away all the lies, what's left might break you.
The first curse of being an intellectual is loneliness. Not the kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that follows you into a crowded room. You're there, people talk, laugh, move, but you're somewhere else. Your body fits in, your mind doesn't. You crave depth, realness, meaning, but most conversations today float on the surface. Weather, trends, safe opinions. Therefore, your need for something deeper is rarely met. And you begin to disconnect. Society doesn't reward depth. It rewards charisma, smiles, simplicity, quick answers over thoughtful questions. Therefore, if you bring silence, seriousness, or challenge, you get labeled too intense, too serious, too cold. But you're not any of those things. You're just not pretending. You don't know how to fake it. Therefore, you adapt, slowly. You smile more, speak less, water yourself down. Not because you want to, but because it's survival. Every time you do, a piece of you dies, quietly, unnoticed. That's the loneliness. Not being alone, but being invisible, in plain sight.
Your knowledge is the second curse. It sounds like a gift, but sometimes it feels like a burden you can't put down. You see through people, through systems, through lies, even the ones that keep others sane. But seeing doesn't always mean changing. You understand how the machine works, but you're still stuck inside it. Therefore, your knowledge becomes a kind of trap, a front row seat to the tragedy with no way to stop the play. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living. But the examined life, it hurts." You see the rot beneath the surface, the hypocrisy of politics, the failure of institutions, the masks people wear just to get through the day. Therefore, truth becomes heavy, and silence becomes tempting. But you can't look away. You stay engaged, awake, alert, even when it costs you peace. It's like being cursed with vision, but no sword. You see the storm coming. You even understand its roots. Therefore, you feel it deeper than most, but you still can't stop the rain.
The third curse, pessimism. The deeper you think, the darker it gets. Not because you want it to, but because clarity has a cost. You study people, history, systems. Therefore, you start noticing patterns. Power feeds on illusion. Justice bends to convenience. Hope gets sold in pieces. You realize most of what holds the world together is fiction. Morality, relative. Progress, slow or staged. Meaning, custom built because reality doesn't provide it. Therefore, pessimism begins to creep in, not as a choice, but as a side effect of seeing too much too clearly. And with it comes a whisper, a dangerous one, the voice of dark philosophy, the kind that says, nothing matters, and that's freedom. Abandon hope, become the observer, feel nothing. You don't believe it, not entirely, but some days it makes sense, and that's what scares you. Because you're not hopeless, you haven't given up. You're still trying to care in a world that punishes awareness. But you understand the temptation now. The cold logic of detachment, the armor of nihilism, the comfort of not feeling too much. And that's the curse. Not falling into the dark, but walking next to it, knowing exactly how easy it would be. The fourth curse, frustration, the danger of the thinking mind. Somewhere along the way, thought turns into tension. The more you see, the less you can accept. The gap between what is and what should be becomes unbearable. Therefore, frustration grows, quiet but steady. You want people to wake up, to think, to care, to change. But most are content with comfort. Most don't want the truth. They want peace. So you begin to burn. At first internally, irritated, sarcastic, disappointed. Then outwardly, bitter, sharp, maybe even cruel. You speak with contempt. You stop asking. You start demanding. You lose patience. Therefore, your mind, once your sanctuary, becomes your prison. Like Raskolnikov, you start to believe your intelligence justifies the anger, that you see above the moral limits, that clarity gives you permission, but it doesn't. It only isolates you further. And the guilt comes, slow, poisonous, impossible to ignore. You begin analyzing your own darkness like a crime scene. You break, not from emotion, but from thought that's turned against you. And that's the danger. When intelligence is stripped of compassion, what's left is a cold brilliance that wounds everyone it touches, including you. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. It feeds on emotion. That's why Raskolnikov chose to kill. He is aware of the imbalance in society, and it is this awareness, the knowledge he possesses, combined with the uncontrolled emotions of a stressful life, that leads him to such an act.